Hey everybody, it's time for 10 of 10. Really it's your Sadie, talking to a friend. She asked him 10 questions, they give her 10 replies. Hopefully you'll learn how Casey really thrives. The purpose of the session is to make Casey connections. 10 of 10, 10, 10.
Hi, Miss Colleen.
Hi, my name is Colleen Coffman, and I am a makeup, special effects, and hair artist, as well as being a fine artist and writer.
Excellent. Are you ready for your questions?
Lay it on me, girl.
Okay, question number 1. How did we meet?
We met backstage at the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts. I was doing, I don't remember if I was airbrushing makeup for that one or not. I probably was, but I was definitely doing hair and wigs. And it would have been for an opera presentation, although I do not even remember which one.
There's too many. They all blend together.
Yes, they do.
Once you get backstage back there, it's like you just show up, hope for the best, you do what you got to do, and then in the blink of an eye, it's over.
That's right.
All right, question number 2. How did you become involved in the arts?
Wow, that is such a deep question because it's so multi-layered. Believe it or not, I grew up singing, so I spent my entire childhood and all through my high school career in choir. But I stopped to raise a whole bunch of boys, so I had kids. I picked up an airbrush when I was about 16 years old, and I had done an event, like a company picnic for Gateway 2000. And they wanted me to do face painting for them. So I did with a hand brush. And they didn't have the air conditioner on. And it was this long line full of really cranky kids and even more sour parents by the time they got to me. So I decided when they called me back the next year to do the same thing, I was going to make it a little more streamlined. And I cut a bunch of stencils and I got out my airbrush and I started doing temporary tattoos. Well, that really caught on, and before I knew it, I was traveling all over the United States, and all of a sudden the theaters wanted it, and film wanted it, and I was doing a lot of special effect makeup for film, theater, haunts. I do a lot of haunts and Halloween type stuff, and that led into what I do now.
Amazing. I always forget that you do the haunts too.
Yeah, well, I did. I don't anymore, just haven't had time. And of course, this year is probably not happening for anybody.
No, probably not. I'm totally afraid of haunted houses, so I stay far away from them. I cry. I cry before I even get there.
You would be one of the girls I'd be watching.
You would. I would be the one that would pass out that you have to carry me out.
I've had to scrape people up off the floor and out from under furniture many times.
That would be me, Miss Colleen. All right. Question number 3. Who inspires you?
Wow, that is such a huge question because I am so inspired by so much. I am inspired by our universe. I am inspired by my own daily life. My children and grandchildren inspire me. The people that I work with, particularly in film and theater, are so inspirational. And it's, being a female in the field of effects art, especially, and airbrush as well, I really had to deal with my fair share of backbiting and people who didn't want to make a team. And so whenever I work with the people in theater and film especially, they like to collaborate and make a team out of it. And I find that to be absolutely the most inspirational of all.
Yeah, it is like, it is really good, like when you're working on a team and everyone has that big aha moment at the same time.
Yes.
That's my favorite part.
Yes.
Because it makes the work easy.
It makes it and so fulfilling. I mean, I have been so gifted to work with people like at the ballet, Jen and Betty Jo. Oh, just love those women. They they have been so good to me, and we collaborate as a team, as a trio. We're those three girls.
Girl power.
Girl power.
Okay, number 4. If you could work with any company in Kansas City, who would it be and why?
So I have to say that I would prefer to work with the Kansas City Ballet above and beyond anybody I've ever worked with. They are so soulful. They are a collaborative team. They inspire me deeply. They picked me up and dusted me off when I fell down flat on my face. And they've done nothing but be enriching and wonderful ever since. So I would love to work back at the Kansas City Ballet, and I hope to be there at some point.
Yeah, I miss working with all of them. They're just such a good group of people, and
yes,
everyone's really fun and lighthearted. Like it's never like as a stage manager, we're constantly just like trying to get through the show, but I never feel super stressed there.
right.
You know, and I think a lot of that also has to do with Amy Taylor and Victoria. Like,
yes,
they keep it all together, but
and Kevin Amy, oh, love that guy. And Jen and Betty Jo, they are just fabulous, all of them, fabulous human beings. And the dancers, there's no prima donnas.
No.
Everybody is a team, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful environment.
It is. I like working there a lot. Okay, number 5.
Okay.
So working in the arts at a younger age, what would you tell younger Colleen who's just starting in the arts about something that she should know now?
Don't be afraid to bring up money first.
Nice. Yes. Get your money.
Yep, actually, the whole contractual thing, it took me until probably just 10 years ago to understand that that is nobody's responsibility but mine. And to get things hammered out contractually on paper is so important right out of the barrel. You just can't, don't leave anything for surprise. Don't depend on somebody else to be that respectful or that professional, because chances are pretty good they're not gonna be. So you need to have all of your questions mapped out, including money, right out of the barrel.
Yeah. Since you do so much special effects work, and like you are the kind of person who you do have a lot of your own equipment. There are a lot of my students who might watch this, or even just friends who might watch this, who are new and kind of branching out into some of those artistic fields where they're using their own equipment. So what do you have to say about, like, how do you make sure that you don't get taken advantage of there?
Well, I'll work within somebody's budget, but you can't pull something out of the air if you don't have the money to do it. So supplies, your labor is one thing, especially if you have your own equipment. You can kind of give some room for some wiggle room there. But as far as the supplies, travel, lodging, per diem, those types of things, you really have to have a set amount. So I research the hell out of what I do. When somebody calls me and they say, I have a script that I need you to work on, or we have some some theater characters that we need you to do, what would you charge us for this? I will go and research the supplies that it'll take to make it happen. I always include my pre-production time in that, because there's labor before it happens, especially in my field.
Yeah,
sometimes the biggest chunk of what I do is in pre-production.
Yeah.
So I always make sure that I get my supplies laid out, any running that I need to do, any gas money, that kind of thing. I always up front, that has to be a number one. And then from there, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room as far as how you want to deal with your labor budget. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, because, you've been working in the business long enough that you know how to make those little asks, and you know how to, like, how that stuff adds up. But you're a young person and you're just trying to figure out this on your own, or like you haven't gone to school for it and you're starting to freelance and gig a little bit, you don't know that you're supposed to ask for that kind of money up front. You just think,
that's right.
oh, you're going to pay me $15 an hour. Cool. Okay. But
Right.
but then you're out of pocket for all the other stuff you spent, and people don't know that, then you're taking a loss.
That's right. And if you're not, some of the effect supplies that I have to deal with are very pricey.
Oh yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're padding your pocket with that. I mean, I don't want more than what it's worth, but I also don't want to leave without making any money.
Exactly, because that's what you're doing. You're making your living.
That's right.
This is a perfect segue into this question, which is kind of a left turn, but not really. Which is, what is the coolest thing you've ever made as a special effect?
The coolest thing I ever made as a special effect was on the Stylist short film, which you can see on YouTube. It's called The Stylist. And I scalped this chick on camera.
Ooh.
Peeled her wig right off. And it was a one-take wonder. So we had one take to do it. And it was so beautiful, I almost cried.
That's awesome.
That was probably my favorite special effect. And it was only because it was so perfect whenever it came out. They are not all like that by any means.
Yeah, and to do it in one take, though, that's nerve-wracking, but also really gratifying, because if you put a lot of time and effort into that, obviously, for it to work right away. So that's
right. Our lead actress on that, when the take was over, I wanted to kiss her face. She pulled it off so well.
So working in film versus working in theater, or live performance, how do you compare kind of what you do in those two different genres, film and theater?
Well, there are many differences. When I started in film, and when I first started doing theater, it was actually On the King and I with Lou Diamond Phillips, and I was his dedicated makeup and hair. So it was quite intimidating, but I sure had a good time. And I decided at that point that theater is film's evil twin sister. Which I still, many years later, I still hold true to that.
Here, let me get my devil horns.
Yes, for real. Victoria would look great with some devil horns through her tiara.
Yeah. I don't know. I think she would still be the angel, and I would probably still be the devil.
That would be awesome. But yeah, that's, I think the lingo is different. You can have the exact same job in film that you have in theater, but they call it different things. So like, for instance, a stagehand takes care of some lights or some curtains or some bounce boards or the fog machine. You call that a stagehand. But in film, it is a completely different, it's the same role, it's a different name. So that would be your grip and electric department. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, just a different lingo.
Yeah, I figured that out the hard way. Whenever I met a couple people at a gala, and they kept referring to a technical director. I'm like, oh yeah, the guy that builds the sets. And they were like, no, it's this lady over here who calls the cameras. And I was like, oh, that's totally different language, but I'm glad I know that now.
Yep. So your role would be essentially a first AD. I keep telling Victoria, if she ever gets out of theater, she needs to go and be a first AD, because she would be perfect. It's the same thing. You keep things on track. You keep things on schedule. You make sure that your director and your performers don't lose it. It's
We
the
are pretty
same.
good at that.
Yes, you are.
So the next question I have, question number 8. How do you balance being mom slash grandma and working in the arts? Because a lot of times we as women, you know, I think a lot of times we sometimes can't balance the work and the life. So how
Yeah.
were you able to do that for so long?
Well, I raised 4 boys being in the arts. So, and now I have a whole slew of grandkids while I'm in the arts. And I involved them. I involved them a lot since I owned my own business at that point, and I was doing a lot of independent film. I was able to have my kids on set with me a lot, and they learned different skills. They learned how to be a PA. They learned how to be a makeup artist. Some of them are really, really good with makeup and special effects, and it's because of that. And they traveled all over the United States with me doing that kind of thing. Well, now my oldest granddaughter, who is 12, she just turned 12, and she has been doing special effects on movies and backstage with me for, golly, since she was about 8 years old. So she's got several films under her belt with me. So I just kind of grabbed them and took them with me.
Nice. Yeah, and I think it's hard too, like, because I think what's nice about being a technician is like you have that ability where your schedule is more flexible, and you have, you know, you don't have to be as like a stage manager where we often sit in the rehearsal hall every day. It's a little bit harder to find that balance of
Yeah.
being there. But as a technician, I feel like a lot of companies are flexible, and it makes me feel good to
Yes.
hear that, because I think now everyone in the arts are pushing towards a more flexible, family friendly atmosphere. Like, bring
Yes.
your kids to work, let them watch you do tech for a bajillion hours, you know, because, you know, for kids that's
Yes.
interesting. It's cool.
Well, not only that, but it also teaches a whole new generation how to carry on our art.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm all about that.
I know, because we need people to come and see it.
Yes, please.
All right, number 9. What are you deeply grateful for right now?
My family and my friends and my artistic ability, my flexibility to roll with the changes. Oh, these changes have been hard. There are some days where I cry and there's some days where I laugh. I feel like a manic depressive here.
Right.
So I'm really grateful that I haven't hit rock bottom like some people I know have. I'm really grateful to have time with my family, time with my boyfriend, time to clean my house and work in my sketchbook and make things.
Awesome. All right, you ready? This is your last question. You
Lay
made
out,
it.
girl.
You did it. All right. What is the best piece of advice you have received? And what is the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody else?
You know, I was on a film set. It was called The Albino Farm many years ago. There was a lot of strife behind the camera, and it was really upsetting me. And the sound man looked at me and he said, "Are you here to make friends or are you here to make a movie?" Ooh, that's stuck. So I've managed to do both along the way, yes. But just remember always that you're there to make a movie. And to carry that forward, remain a team. It is so important to collaborate. You know, one person can do some pretty cool stuff. But if you have a whole bunch of people together working as one, oh, it's spectacular. It's just so cool. So be a team. Be a team.
Yeah, that's so true. What about, so I think that one of the things that I love about you so much, Miss Colleen, is that you're like this badass grandma, and I like want to be just like you when I'm older.
Oh, thank you.
Like I still want to be doing everything that I want to do and still have like, I don't know, I probably won't have a brood of children, but if I had 4 boys, I'd probably be like, I don't know, I need to be just like Miss Colleen.
Oh,
You're so
honey, I love you.
awesome.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
So you've reached the end. So now the floor is yours. If there's anything that you want to talk about, if there's anything that you want to plug, if it's a project that you work on, or if it's a certain place that you work, maybe if it's your favorite restaurant, anything that you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Okay, so one of the things that I would like to plug is Cooper's Hawk Restaurant. And the
Nice.
reason that I do this, for one, my son is one of their UKMs, EKMs. He's a chef, but he is managing one of their restaurants down in Florida. The one here in Kansas City, when the quarantine first began, they reached out and they fed not only their employees, but their employees' families for the first several months. So
Wow.
we could go down there about once every other day, and they would have food ready for us for days worth of food for everybody in our household. So I think that businesses like this, especially through all of this horrible shit that we've had to deal with, is really, really, those are the people I want to support. Those are the businesses that I think everybody needs to know about.
Yeah.
And as far as my own projects go, I have such a story here. Many years ago, my mom and dad gave me a sketch diary, and I decided to start using it to draw fairies. And I drew fairies while I was traveling all over the United States. That was my very, very dear companion. Well, I ended up divorced and moved several times. My storage unit was burglarized, and throughout all of this, that sketch diary went missing. Now, that would have been in 2014 that it went missing. So I was very sad. I shed a lot of tears over that one, but I let it go. And I was dog and house sitting for Jennifer here this last spring, and I was watching all of the fireflies in the backyard, and I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I miss the fairies. This is so cool. The very next night, I got a message from a young man completely out of the blue who found my sketch diary.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And he returned it to me. So I went and picked it up, and as I looked through it, it was like, you know what? I'm going to finish this because there were a number of sketches that I hadn't finished. I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to write a story to go with it, and I'm going to publish this sucker. So
nice.
that is my current project. That's what I'm doing.
That. That's the coolest thing ever.
I thought it was kind of fun, and it really hit home with me.
Yeah, that's like such a full circle story, and like something that everyone needs right now, I think.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's like your art found its home.
It did. Oh, it was good to hug my friend. I've been busy with it since.
That's so great. When it gets published, you let me know, Miss Colleen. I want a copy.
You got it, ma'am. I've even got an ISBN number for it now, and I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it.
You'll get it done. I know you will.
Oh, I will. Yep. It's a pleasure.
Oh, Miss Colleen, it's so good to talk to you, and I thank you so much for answering all these questions.
Of course, sweetheart. Thank you for doing this, Sadie. I miss you.
I miss you.